Pop Culture Pastor.
I mean, I literally had not thought about Poltergeist in a long time. And for you to say that, well, first of all, it really took my my pop culture wheels in my head to turn there before I made that connection. You said right before we started recording, Cody said Glee is the new Poltergeist.
It is.
And he was implying that Glee is cursed. So back in the day, the Poltergeist and Poltergeist 2, the Poltergeist series of movies, a lot of the people had some weird things happen to them, including some of them died in kind of weird ways.
The little girl, the old lady with the weird voice.
Yeah, Carol Ann was the little girl. I demand we call her by her given name. But yeah, like Poltergeist, that production, just the people in it. I remember that it was all of them. Like even the Native American guy in the second one had a weird something kind of happened to him, and about the only one of them that the ones that were left unscathed were the parents, right?
Yeah,
Coach.
Yeah,
and Jo Beth Williams, who was kind of a big actress back in the 80s.
Well,
she was like the your standard mom.
Her career ceased.
Yeah, I think she just got old. Because that was kind of her career, was young mom. That was the part she got. But you compared it to Glee, which, yeah, I think that's comparable. It seems like Glee's cursed with weird deaths. And then happenings, we were reacting because we saw that the teacher on Glee recently got kicked off of his new judging gig on So You Think You Can Dance. Although I don't think he's cursed. I think he's just kind of slimy.
Yeah.
Judging by what I read.
But I mean, just think back when I was in college, everyone, their mom was loving Glee.
You would have thought everyone on that show would be off by this time would be huge, would be off to bigger and better things. And really no one from that show.
Jane Lynch is like the only one that has
expanded her territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just would have thought everyone on that show would have been huge when it was first out because people, it was dynamite. Everybody loved it.
I did not.
You did not love it.
So I was countercultural with this. I'm like, literally, if I wanted to hear these songs, I wanted to hear them by the original people. Quit ruining good songs.
Yeah, I'm with you. Glee was trash.
And then the storyline was just weird.
Jane Lynch was the best part of that show.
Oh, she was funny.
By far.
Like, they could have just had a Jane Lynch show and I would have been okay.
Yeah, I'd have been okay with that. She's hilarious. She was great in Ricky Bobby, too, as Ricky Bobby's mom.
Yep.
She's wonderful. Anyways, we just were having, you started a discussion there with just a random thought.
Poltergeist, Glee, the curse continues.
This is Pop Culture Pastor. This is a podcast where we just like to talk about pop culture. We are two licensed ministers.
And I'm not saying there's a legitimate curse.
Do you have an official title that goes along with yours? Because technically speaking, I'm a reverend.
I mean, I can call myself reverend, but I don't prefer that. Like,
well, I don't prefer it.
Pastor Cody's nice, but you can just call me Cody. I'll respond.
But I'm not going to lie. I got really excited the first time I got a piece of mail that was addressed to the Reverend David Rimble.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
And now you have a title that goes in front of doctor.
I do?
It's always Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because Reverend's the higher title.
Reverend takes precedence.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
good for that. Good for me, I guess. That's
if you're about titles.
I felt weird saying that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's where the pastor part comes from in the title. You're listening to Pop Culture Pastor. Welcome. Dave and Cody. That's our names.
That is.
And we are not joined by anyone this week. No guest.
Thanks a lot, people.
Let's just get to the news. National Treasure news.
Dun, dun, dun.
You were a fan of the 2004 adventure film starring Nick Cage, were you not?
So my parents are huge fans.
You're not a fan?
So I enjoyed them the first 2 times I watched both movies, but then they watched it like 60 other times, and I'm like, there's other movies on, people. And so
I'm not seeing a problem.
And it's weird because if you ask my parents, do you like Nick Cage? The answer is no. But then you have National Treasure and, one of the best movies ever. So
I don't know about that. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think they enjoy that. It's like a good, I guess.
It's a popcorn flick.
Family action-y film.
A few years ago, it was announced that National Treasure 3 was back on track, but not much had been said about it since. And in fact, they had announced a Disney Plus series with an all-new younger cast, but with Justin Bartha returning, who is the sidekick in the National Treasure movies. A fan recently asked Jerry Bruckheimer on a Reddit message board if he was planning on working with Nick Cage again anytime soon, and the veteran producer provided a response that got people excited. He said, "Absolutely, I love Nicholas. He's a brilliant actor, and we're currently working on a script for National Treasure." So he just up and said it.
Bring back the Cage.
Yeah.
All the Cage.
I still haven't seen. I want to see the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes.
I really want to see that movie. I haven't got a chance.
I still need to see Pig.
Pig, yeah, that also looked good. But Nick Cage he's enjoying a Cage-aissance. That doesn't work. A Nick-aissance, whatever. A career renaissance.
Yes.
Although I don't know that he ever left.
No, not really.
But yeah, so the Disney franchise's director, John Turteltaub, felt the studio was wrong to shelve the threequel, considering the first movie grossed over $350 million and the sequel grossed $459 million. That's insane.
That's Pirates numbers. Maybe even bigger.
But now we've got a National Treasure-aissance. Because now there's a TV series in the works on Disney Plus. Bruckheimer says that the series has a younger cast compared to the film franchise, meaning it'll likely have a different kind of vibe, right? And the series it also has Catherine Zeta-Jones in the Disney Plus series.
Where has she been? That's my question.
Now, doesn't she have? I feel like she has some sort of condition.
Oh.
Does she have what Michael J. Fox has? Parkinson's? I don't know. You may have to look that up. No, she may have what, I feel like she's stricken with some disease. Anyways, don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But I thought I remember hearing that. But now, not only the Disney Plus series, but it looks like Nick Cage himself will be coming back in a continuation of the National Treasure movie stories, and I'm here for it.
I am too.
Oh, wonderful. I wonder, will you be here for it, dear listener? That's the question. Yeah.
Like the only thing I'm seeing is some mental health.
Mental health stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought she was having issues with something, but maybe it was mental health. That's not a little thing.
Yeah. Mental health matters.
She's good enough to come back and do some work on a series, so that's good.
I'm all about Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah. She seems nice, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that much about her. She's married to Michael Douglas, right?
I think they divorced, but I think they got back together.
It's so confusing trying to follow celebrity love lives. I thought we were done with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. I declared last week that we were done talking about it. We didn't have to talk about it anymore. But it's like Godfather 3. Every time I think I'm out, it pulls me back in.
It does.
Because we have to talk about a young lady named Jasmine Wolfe who tattooed herself. She was inspired by the trial, and you may be thinking, well, what did she get a tattoo of? She got a tattoo of Johnny Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez, on her leg with the word objection below it. This is a real thing. This is a TikTok user who tattooed herself with an image of Johnny Depp's lawyer. And she calls the online backlash she's received insane. All these people are insane. Why are you reacting in such a strange way to me getting a tattoo of some lawyer I'd never heard of, but just because she's a lawyer for a celebrity and getting their likeness tattooed on my leg with the word objection? That's not insane. That's quite sane, Cody.
It's definitely in the moment.
She's a singer-songwriter from Canada, so I think that maybe lets you in on a little bit of the motivation. This video's had 1 million views.
It's impressive that the tattoo looks as good as it does with her doing it by herself. I don't know if I could do that.
Oh, wait, she did that by herself?
Yeah, didn't you say it was a self-tattoo?
I don't know. I didn't say that. Did I say that? Oh, she tattooed herself.
Yeah.
I did say that.
You did.
What?
So
objection, Your Honor.
Hey, I'm always impressed by people that can do that.
Well, then why is she saying she's a singer-songwriter? She's clearly a tattoo artist.
As well.
Of course. Actually, Dave, I'm an influencer.
Like, Alanis Morissette wouldn't do this.
I don't understand young people. No, she wouldn't. Of course she wouldn't. Oh, Alanis did dabble, though. I first meet Alanis Morissette. That's right. I said meet as a star on the Nickelodeon series You Can't Do That on Television back in the day when I was a kid. That's where the green slime got its start. A lot of people don't remember that.
I did not know that.
Us oldies, us old heads, we know that.
I'm not that old.
Yeah. It was a whole, it was a talk show, skit show, basically, on the mornings, weekday mornings on Nickelodeon, starring kids. Like, it was a skit show, basically.
So.
And the adults would usually be the ones getting green slimed.
This is before all that.
Before all that? What's all that?
Like an SNL type show, but on Nickelodeon.
Oh.
Starring kids. Again, because that's how Keenan and Kel get their start.
Oh, okay.
And then they get their own show out of it.
Good Burger.
They get the Good Burger and they get the Keenan and Kel show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they get a lot of stuff from all that.
Well, I knew they came from Nick somehow, but I was older by then. I wasn't watching Nickelodeon at that time. I've only recently come back to it. I do watch me some Nick at Night, though. So yeah, this young woman, Jasmine Wolfe, self-tattooed Johnny Depp's lawyer on her leg. Said it took her 1 hour to complete. Okay. It's attracted both negative and positive responses. Wolfe told Insider that critics make assumptions about her and her beliefs based solely on the tattoo. Yeah. You don't say? That seems legitimate. I mean, when you're putting yourself out there on the internet, on social media and TikTok, I feel like she's saying that as a complaint, but what do you expect people to do? Isn't that what social media is?
So like when I post things on social media, I'm usually trying to get either my thought out there in the masses, or I'm trying to get attention for something. Like I just shared our podcast information not too long ago. I was trying to get attention and trying to get feedback and those sorts of things. And so, yeah, anytime you post anything on social media, if you didn't want the attention or people to weigh in on it, then you probably shouldn't post it.
She said that she encountered a strange, intrinsically sexist belief that men can't be abuse victims. Speaking of Johnny Depp, she said, I found it amazing to see somebody advocating for that. I mean, it's literally her job and trying to bring justice to an unjust situation. So she's clearly Team Johnny. The way Camille, that's his lawyer, conducted herself was very powerful, and I wanted to memorialize how I felt in that moment watching her.
Okay.
The tattoo means more than a nod to the news story of the moment. I just wanted it to be a symbol of strength.
Camille did a good job, so
yeah, okay.
If that's your symbol of strength, I guess.
Made me wonder, can we go back through other high-profile trials? Is there someone out there with a Johnny Cochran tattoo?
Oh, I hope.
Oh, if the glove does not fit, you must acquit. Johnny Cochran. Yeah, that'd be a pretty stellar tattoo.
That would be.
People probably wouldn't feel as good about that, though, because we don't like OJ.
We don't.
We like Johnny Depp. It's weird how this trial has kind of sussed that out, really. Because what she's talking about is a real thing, because this doesn't work if it's, say, Chris Pratt, right? This goes a certain way if it's like a guy like Chris Pratt, who's more of your alpha male action star kind of type guy who some people are already unsure of because he seems a little too conservative for them. But Johnny Depp is he's very meek, very quiet.
Like totes.
McGoats.
No. He's more fluid with different portrayals and stuff. But I did see a meme that I thought captured this moment quite well. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to OJ, that Johnny Depp is white people's OJ.
Oh, yeah.
Because there definitely was a race component to the OJ trial and verdict. And you see a lot of white people coming out of the woods in support of Team Johnny.
It is weird in a way. It is kind of strange to sit and watch all this happen. It's just kind of weird because that people are Team Johnny or Team Amber. Because I look at this thing and I'm like, hey, I don't like, probably what's most likely true is neither one of these people were completely clean in this situation. Because here's the problem. If you've never been in a bad domestic situation, like a a relationship going bad, usually it's usually multifaceted. And both, even if you feel like you're the victim, you're going to act in a way that's not really conducive to repairing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be careful that I don't erase anyone's victimhood.
Yes.
But at the same time, this situation seemed from the start like, oh, these are both people who are probably making some mistakes in their relationship. But that's just the way that the little I've followed the trial made me feel about them.
Yeah. And I mean, the only people that really know what happened are those two individuals. And don't doubt people that have claims of abuse. Let the law investigate it and support people that are going through hard times.
Speaking of the law, let's talk about Ezra Miller for a second.
Nice segue.
Ezra Miller, who has been in trouble multiple times the last few months, including a couple of arrests, an alleged incident where the actor broke into a couple's hotel room and threatened them. Apparently, it's gotten bad enough that Warner Brothers executives finally held an executive emergency meeting about whether or not to pause development on future projects with Miller attached. We're talking about the Flash movie, which is coming out next year.
So the Flash, and if they make another Fantastic Beasts movie.
Now, according to a new report from Variety, it sounds like Warner Brothers is just letting it ride, because we kind of remarked on this in a news segment here a while back. But what are they doing? And what they're doing is they think they're probably already far too committed to the Flash movie to even consider burying it or changing it or moving it off to a lower profile HBO Max debut, giving the studio no choice but to stick to its theatrical release plan and hope for the best. That seems like a big gamble. Like, it feels like, I mean, how long before that movie comes out? Is it next summer?
Yeah, it's supposed to be in 2023. Yeah.
So you're going to go a whole year hoping Ezra Miller doesn't kill somebody.
Or doesn't do something that...
Or hurt himself.
Yeah, that is traumatic in nature.
I mean, this guy clearly has a mental problem that needs to be addressed. He could hurt himself.
Yeah, I mean, watching it as just an outsider, it's erratic behavior that is alarming. Now, because, I mean, there's videos that have circulated of things from a couple of years ago to the recent events, and it's a troubling line of progression that we're seeing. And there's been actors that have been fired for far less burden of proof. And
but I think we're getting the reason why now.
And that just because you have now invested, from the sounds of it, hundreds of millions of dollars in this project, which is insane. Like, it's too late to like Photoshop in Grant Gustin's face.
Variety sources say that barring unforeseen developments, The Flash simply costs too much money to be scrapped, and it will likely not generate the revenues needed to turn a profit without playing in theaters. There's tacit, by the way, implication there that the people who said that streaming was the future, not so. Theaters win. But also, there's this balance of what's more important here. And at the end of the day, if I'm an actor, they clearly are going to make that choice based on money. It's a sad kind of statement in a way, although not unexpected.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they have offered any like treatment support, those sorts of things his way. Because if they're doing that in the background, I feel a little bit better that they're actually caring about him as an individual instead of just necessarily the bottom dollar.
And if they aren't, because let me tell you, if they aren't, and in 6 months, Ezra Miller hurts himself, or even worse, maybe hurt himself permanently, where would that leave your movie? What would people's feeling be going into that movie then? They've got to be doing something for him. We could hope and pray that they're doing something for him in the background and just not publicizing it. Although when your main concern is money, it seems weird that you would do that for him and not publicize it. Just being honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't look at Ezra Miller and go, oh, what an awful person. No, I feel concern for Ezra Miller. What I think is awful maybe happening right now is that you've got a giant movie company that makes all the monies who's unwilling take a hit on themselves for the well-being of another human being. That's trouble.
Very much so.
But that's very capitalistic and American. And don't read into that more than, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not being like, socialism, like I'm not saying capitalism's bad and we should move on to something else. I'm just saying the problem isn't capitalism. It's us. It's humans. We're greedy. We're selfish. And I'm just wondering if what's getting lost here is Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
That's all. All right. That's the news. We're going to step out into the lobby. All right, we're out in the lobby, Cody. Time for us to dig into the question bag that we offer all our listeners. We drop these posts on our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, whatnot, to ask us anything. And then we will answer that on the pod. And in this section of the pod, we call the lobby. So we come out to the lobby, get ourselves a snack. And while we're waiting for our snack, we answer listener questions.
Because that's how we roll.
That is how we roll. That's why you always have the quippy one-liners.
That's what I'm here for.
Name it and claim. Name it and claim it. First question comes from Josh Kane. Josh Kane, I don't know where Josh lives. We're growing so fast.
Yeah, you might want to include that when you ask questions.
He might live in Missouri. I don't know. I think I'm friends with Josh Kane on Facebook. Maybe I should just look him up here. Should I do that? I don't know.
This is taking too much time.
Maybe he wouldn't like that. Welcome to our world. This is how we converse and think about. I think out loud. Josh Kane asks, what's your favorite? He has two questions. What's your favorite Back to the Future movie? This is a hard question because this is the question. So it's a trilogy. And here's the tough question with any question, any type of question like this. Do you go with the classic, the original? There's a part of me that feels an allegiance to the original or the classic. Like if you're talking about Star Wars, it's episode 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can clearly look at it and say there are things in the movies after it that are superior.
Like Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, when they switched actresses from Back to the Future 2?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was weird. I was like, oh, they're going to try and sneak Elizabeth Shue in here on us? Like we wouldn't notice? We totally noticed.
Well, they changed out Crispin Glover, too.
That I didn't notice. That one,
they got sued for that one.
To a guy that apparently looks just like him.
He bore a resemblance, but then had some prosthetics on as well. Like they were clearly trying to trick you. And they did. They did.
Although, looking back now, we should have noticed because he didn't have that manic energy that Crispin Glover brings.
To everything.
So you've got the classic first one, the original. But then, in my way of thinking, Back to the Future 2 is a superior movie. I think it's more entertaining. I enjoy it. It's got more like set pieces that are fun in the movie. And the whole concept of him going to the future instead of the past this time was a fun concept. And then you have 3, which the third in a trilogy often gets kind of poo-pooed on sometimes. But I just thought 3, while it's not as good, I think, as a cinematic work of art as 2 or 1, it's just fun.
So 3, I can clearly distinguish from the rest of the trilogy because they go back in the Wild West.
Right.
And so like 1 and 2 at times blend for me, but I go with 2 being my favorite out of the movies.
Yeah, I'd have to say 2, but I love them all, really.
Yeah.
And 1 and 3 both have a different kind of special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, all 3 good movies.
It's a really good question in that there's this weird relationship, especially with trilogy. So like if you're looking at the original trilogy in Star Wars, it's the same sort of thing. Star Wars Episode 4 is the classic, the OG, and has a place in my heart. Empire Strikes Back is clearly a superior cinematic achievement, and so it has a place in my heart. 3, Return of the Jedi, not as good as Empire, but I just love it. It's fun.
Ewoks.
It's the one that hits me in my kid places, my heart, my kid heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a love for all 3 of them, and asking me which one is my favorite was like, well, depends on the day, I guess.
Indiana Jones the same way.
Absolutely. And that's a trilogy because I will not recognize that it has a 4th movie.
Yeah.
I don't count it. We don't speak of such things here.
Having not seen the 4th one, I believe it never existed.
The weird thing about Indiana Jones and its trilogy is I believe it sets up the exact same way, but a lot of people wouldn't agree with me on that because they've been fooled. But I would say Raiders of the Lost Ark is the OG. Therefore, it has that classicness and that nostalgia. But 2's Temple of Doom, superior movie. I believe it's a superior movie. Now, a lot of people don't like it because it doesn't fit with the other two very well because it's darker. But that's kind of why I like it. And then Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I don't believe is as good as 2, but most people like it better because it's fun.
Sean Connery brings hilarity.
He does. And it also has the return of more Marcus Donovan.
Yeah.
You're meddling with powers you cannot possibly comprehend. I just dig that. I dig that guy. He's fun. Hello, I'm looking for, when Indiana makes that speech, that speech about you'll never find him. He'll blend in. With any luck, he's got the grail already. Anyways, that movie's just fun. And so it's weird how trilogies do that. But Josh, I think I'm going to go with Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with most trilogies for me. Empire, that have a good sequel. Empire Strikes Back is probably the best of the original Star Wars trilogy. And I believe Indiana Jones Temple of Doom is my favorite of the 3 Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And so non-superhero non-MCU DC superhero movie, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I didn't even ask the question yet.
You did.
Okay. So what's your favorite non-Marvel DC comic book movie? Scott Pilgrim is very, very good. Do not get me wrong. It's a very good movie.
We're going to have fist.
We're not going to have fists because
Fisticuffs.
I really love V for Vendetta. I love V for Vendetta. I think it's a great movie.
It is.
It's just great.
And which comic book company?
I'm not sure, but it's a graphic novel. So I think he's asking the heart of his question is outside of the MCU. He says MCU, so I'm saying DCEU or the DC universe of movies. So I don't know if V for Vendetta is a DC originally, but I feel like it takes place outside of the DC universe.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with V for Vendetta. But if I'm not allowed to say that, I'll go with Scott Pilgrim.
V's definitely up there. So it would depend on the day for me. If I'm wanting something light and fun, I'm going Scott Pilgrim.
V for Vendetta is ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those, you look at the headlines now and watch V for Vendetta and just sometimes these writers come up with this vision of the future and it's so right on. They're so right on with where they think we're going. And granted, it's an extreme future. It's not like we're there. We're not at V for Vendetta places. But Watchmen's kind of the same way where the people that wrote these stories have their on the pulse, their finger on the pulse of human behavior and culture. And it's a possibility. It's a possible future, through this fantastical story of a comic book.
Yeah.
And anyways, I just love for Vendetta.
Because of that movie, I remember the 5th of November.
That is true, which is a real historical thing.
It is.
Yeah. Kyle Kessinger from Lawrence, Kansas says, what are the top 5 best movies / TV shows that Timothy Oliphant has done in his career? He says, we know what Cody's going to say. We are huge Timothy Oliphant fans.
All his shows are great. All of them.
Are you going to let me go first?
Yes, I will.
Okay, because I don't know this. I'm just going to kind of look through his filmography and TV performances here. The first 2 that immediately drop in my mind are Justified and Deadwood. So I'm going to drop those 2 immediately because those will have to be in his top 5. But I'm just going to look through his IMDb because I first remember him in Scream 2, much like you do, Cody. That was back in 1997. I remember him in The Girl Next Door, which was a comedy that was for adults. Has some adult themes going on. Let's see. Deadwood is a big one. That's kind of one that happens next in his filmography. He's in Live Free or Die Hard.
Yes,
is that Die Hard 4?
Yeah.
Is that the 4th movie? Mm-hmm. He's the bad guy in that, and I thought he was okay in that, although the movie doesn't get remembered as, something really, really good. He shows up in The Office, which is great. For a couple episodes in The Office. He is in, of course, Justified. He's in the movie Snowden. I did not know that. I didn't see that. Santa Clarita Diet, which you have brought up. Deadwood, although I haven't seen Santa Clarita Diet. Should I have?
It's funny. It's so funny.
He shows up in The Mandalorian. I forgot he shows up in a season of Fargo, and it's just so brilliant. Oh man, he's really good. Fargo's a brilliant show, anyways. Of course, since he's in The Mandalorian, he also shows up in Book of Boba Fett, and it's just been confirmed. And is filming. He's going to reprise his role as Raylan Givens in an as yet untitled Elmore Leonard adaptation, but it'll be a Justified sequel.
Yeah, and he's in Detroit. I know that much.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I'm going to go with Deadwood in this order: Deadwood, Justified. Oh, man, his character in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I'm going to combine them into one as 3. Man, I don't know. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too. I'm gonna say his character in Fargo is gonna be number 4 for me. He's just so amazing in that show. But Fargo, the way it's written, brings out the best in actors. And then I'm gonna go with the first time I ever saw him, Scream 2. That's my top 5.
Okay, that's legit.
He's mostly a TV guy for me, though.
So we will slightly disagree on 1 and 2, but that
you're gonna go with Justified.
I'll go with Justified.
They're both iconic.
Yeah. So like, I will not throw fisticuffs if you say Deadwood, because he was amazing in Deadwood. I think that part of my issue is the way Deadwood ended. And then they come back years later, and like by that time I had forgotten so much about Deadwood besides Timothy Olyphant.
Pre-Game of Thrones, HBO has this unfortunate pattern with a lot of their shows. Like Sopranos is the only one that enjoys a lot of length. And Game of Thrones is the one that costs a lot of money but makes them a lot of money. But before that, they had this unfortunate pattern where shows would get big and bloated even though they were good and start costing too much, and often either shorten their lifespan in the middle of stories. Like, because it happens to one of my favorites called Rome, which was only 2 seasons but really could have been an ongoing thing. Anyways, go ahead with your list.
So Justified, Deadwood. I'll go Santa Clarita Diet with a Drew Barrymore.
I gotta check that out. Apparently,
hilarious. I'll go Scream 2 at number 4, and then it's like a 3-way battle between his character on The Office, his character on The Mandalorian / Boba Fett, and if you need scary Timothy Olyphant movie, The Crazies.
Yeah.
Zombies.
That one was good. If I remember right, I didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're past the statute of limitations. Doesn't that movie end with everyone getting nuclear bombed? Am I remembering that right?
I think so.
Yeah, they like the whole movie they spent trying to escape this area where people have come under the influence of this sickness. That's kind of similar to 28 Days Later. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure that movie ends with like a nuclear bomb. It's very Michael Crichton-esque.
Yeah, the military's playing to eradicate the people of the town.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the ending, but the movie up to the ending I thought was good, and Timothy Olyphant's good in it.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Lauren Allen. She says, "What is your favorite animated movie?"
There's so many good animated movies.
It's a good thing to talk about because of our main subject of this pod. But
yes. If you want to go first.
I would probably say Transformers the movie. Transformers the movie that comes out in the 80s. Just, you got to understand, oh man, when we were kids, they didn't have all the entertainment they have for kids now. And it was all appointment based. Like, you didn't get to stream it. You were really lucky if you got you somehow acquired a VHS tape of many Transformers episodes, or G.I. Joe or He-Man or whatever it was that you liked to watch. We like to watch all of them. But if you went to Blockbuster and you found like a run of G.I. Joe, that was a score. Like, we're going to spend all weekend watching a whole season of G.I. Joe cartoons. That was a score. But when Transformers the movie came out, it was such a craze. It was the first time I remember like many parents dropping their kids off at a theater. And they kill off Optimus Prime within like the first 15 minutes. It was so shocking, and it's got a great 80s, really 80s soundtrack. I'm Stan Bush, who did music for some Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Yeah, it's just wonderful stuff. Yeah, I would say Transformers the movie. And it was really good. It was really had a cinematic, the story was worthy of being in cinemas. It was epic. I mean, man, Optimus Prime dies in the first 20 minutes. So it has to be epic, right?
Oh, yeah. Very epic.
And the song that they play when Optimus Prime is rolling into battle right at the beginning of the movie. You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah. I told you it was 80s. It's Stan Bush, man.
So 80s.
What's your favorite animated movie, Cody?
Oh, this is so tough. Because growing up, all the Disney classics that were in the vault get released on VHS. And so I own them growing up. Like, my parents have like a whole entertainment center cabinet filled up with Disney classic movies.
Well, we loved all those too. We sang the songs, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King.
The Jungle Book. I mean, I watched The Jungle Book on repeat growing up. But I think I'm going to go Lion King #1, closely followed by Up.
Yes, yeah.
And Toy Story 3, with honorable mention to Coco.
Yeah, it's hard. The Pixar movies all start coming out when I'm an adult. So I can look at them and recognize, hey, man, those are good movies. But also, they don't take the same place in my heart because I didn't grow up with them. I can totally understand if you grew up with Pixar movies, that those would be your jam.
Holy cannoli, they're so good.
Yeah. Up, I can't watch the first 10 minutes of Up without crying like a little baby.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot the Goofy movie. Goofy movie's good.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Oh, it's a classic. So,
all right, those were all good questions. We've got more questions to get to next time, so we'll save those for next time. Let's get back into the studio and hit the main subject for today: Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. We saw it. We're going to talk about it coming up next. Okay, we're back. We're ready to talk about Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Now, Cody.
Chip and Dale.
I did not see that coming.
No one did.
What just happened? What just happened?
The original theme song. That's what's happening.
So you clearly grew up with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did not know anything about this. This hits me a little late in the years for me to have had any sort of childhood affinity for. There's lots of things referenced that I do remember because this movie is a love letter to the 90s, which it took me completely off guard. I had no idea what this movie was. My kids wanted to watch it, and so I agreed to watch it with them. And what followed was a 2-hour fever dream. Because seriously, let's just cut to the chase right now. My first question after watching this movie was, who is the insane person who made this movie?
Like, as it was happening, I'm thinking, how did they get the copyrights for this?
I mean, there are so many Easter eggs. There's so much dropped into this movie. And I just kept thinking, who's the insane person who made a Chip and Dale movie, a Rescue Rangers movie, with just all of these 9? About the time, I mean, you're like 15 minutes in by the time MC Scat Cat and Paula Abdul grace the screen. And I'm dead. I fall out of my chair dead. I was just like, what is happening right now? What am I watching? Of course, my kids have no idea what's going on.
Amazingness is happening. That's what was happening.
It was incredible. Here's the summary that they give you. Chip and Dale live amongst cartoons and humans in modern-day Los Angeles, but their lives are quite different now. When a former castmate mysteriously disappears, Chip and Dale must repair their broken friendship and save their friend. 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. So deserved. So deserved. This movie is so much better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
I had no inclination to want to see this movie. None. And there it is, just sitting there being amazing.
So when I saw that it was going to be dropped on Disney Plus, I'm like, I might have to check it out because Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, like, it was a second tier show for me. Like, if it was on and nothing else was on, I'd be okay watching it. it wasn't like my go-to because it wasn't DuckTales or Darkwing Duck or Tailspin. Like those were my top 3 Disney shows. But it was in that next group of, I'm good watching this.
Do we know why it went to? Why is this not a theatrical release? Is it just because is this still stuff from the pandemic? Because now, like, it bothers me that this will never get any Oscar nominations as the best animated movie. Although it should be able to get some Emmys, right?
Give them all the awards, really.
Because it's not just that it's funny and entertaining for my kids who liked it, but it's an amazing homage to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, first of all.
Yeah.
It's this amazing homage / fever dream of a love letter to the 90s. And it's just, if you haven't seen it, and I don't know why you'd be listening this far into a podcast about Chippendale's Rescue Rangers if you hadn't. But if you haven't seen it and you're over the age of 30, you're going to want to see it.
Yeah. And I think it's partially just due to the people that made it are now like, they're in between our age.
Yeah.
And so
let's just talk about that real quick. In case you didn't know, the voices of your 2 main characters, John Mulaney and Andy Samberg, as Chip and Dale.
Yes. And I saw an interview where both were like, we didn't know which one we were until the day of.
And they're great, of course. J.K. Simmons as Captain Putty almost steals it.
Yeah.
He's wonderful in the story. Will Arnett, who's immediately recognizable when he shows up because
it's Will Arnett's voice.
It's Will Arnett. There's also it's a blink and you missed it moment. But in the joke Easter egg movie, The Batman versus E.T., do you realize that the voice of Batman is Will Arnett?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because he's the voice of Batman in the Lego Batman stuff. So culturally relevant is this film, and just right on the nose.
Which, again, how is Disney getting the rights to Batman and E.T.?
I don't know. But all of a sudden, you're seeing memes online about the movie we really need to see, release the Snyder Cut of Batman versus E.T. Oh, man. It's just, this movie is just kind of dynamite from beginning to end.
Even the voice of Monterey Jack is amazing. That we get Eric Bana.
Lots of SNL guys, as you know, you have Mulaney and Samberg. Rogen's the voice of Kung Fu Panda. Will Arnett, Chris Parnell makes an appearance. Keegan-Michael Key. All these comedy guys are in this as somewhere or another, and it's almost like it's a testament to the power of nostalgia with the Easter eggs, and a testament to the power of like, hey, let's just do something and let's get all our friends to join in, because it's clear that what happened here is you have a writer of this movie was a Saturday Night Live writer. You've got Andy Samberg, you've got John Mulaney, and they just said, hey, let's just get our friends involved. And I love it when Hollywood projects end up like that. Usually some of the most enjoyable things, like we can sit here and talk about Adam Sandler, and you can sit here and say, hey, Grown Ups is not a work of cinematic brilliance, but it has a quality that's just fun because you can tell the people making it are having fun.
And that they're really friends.
Because his intention was, I'm going to make a movie that all my friends can take part in, and we get to hang out for a few months while we work. And so it has this wonderful quality about it.
So something that I just now realized is they got the legitimate voice actor for a lot of 90s cartoons in Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
And Jim might have my favorite character in the whole show, because at the end we get Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the cameos and the Easter eggs, because there's a ton of them. We're gonna go Easter egg by Easter egg. But first, I want to talk about this because there is something out there that I feel like I need to address.
Okay.
This is it's by a guy who has a bigger podcast than us, and he made a claim about the movie, and I don't know if this claim is out there. Maybe there's a viral quality to it, but his claim was that this movie glorifies human trafficking, to which I about fell out of my chair with as well, because I'm like, not everything has to be about something, bro. But the guy did a video on his channel, And he just goes through it, and it's about a 5-minute long video where he's just saying this movie's terrible. It's grooming children to, I don't know, like human trafficking, I guess, is his claim.
Well, you weren't supposed to be happy that the characters got kidnapped.
I started a giant online argument with him. And I wasn't like trying to. I was being nice because I'm a pastor. But I said it's every movie that has some element of good and evil usually features some form of trafficking. Like Leia is trafficked in Star Wars. Han Solo is trafficked in Star Wars movies.
Most of the time on Scooby-Doo, someone is trafficked.
Every girlfriend Spider-Man has ever had is trafficked. Every woman in any Western, I don't know, ever is trafficked. And so for this dude to be like, because this movie features that element, we literally have a movie series with Liam Neeson that's literally about human trafficking. And nobody says it's glorifying it.
Even Liam Neeson himself gets trafficked in the series by the third one.
And it's not, we understand it's not glorifying it.
Yeah.
He's fighting it.
And
he's got a certain set of skills.
You identify real quickly that the people that are doing the trafficking are scum.
Yeah.
The worst of the worst.
And so I pointed this out to this guy. It really, I think, the clue, there's a lot of virtue signaling in our society today. So I think sometimes these guys with these podcasts, these YouTube channels, it pays for them. And there's literally these people in every genre of entertainment, right? There's even church ones. So if you go on YouTube, you can find YouTube channels dedicated to picking apart every famous pastor you've ever heard of Sunday sermon and telling you what's wrong with it. And really, there's a lot of virtue signaling in this and a lot of self-publication, self-promotion. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm the guy that says this person's wrong. So the clue in this guy's 5-minute video, that it wasn't all on the up and up, that he kept, at least subconsciously, because I don't believe maybe he was doing it consciously. I believe he really thinks there's a problem with this movie. But he kept saying this phrase. He kept saying, I just think if you had helped people get out of human trafficking, if you'd helped them, you'd know. You'd see all the signs. He kept saying that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we get it. You're virtue signaling. You've done that. You've done that work. You've clearly been involved with that. And that's great. Mm-hmm. That's all. I'm not going to take away anything about that. We need people out there like that to help victims of human trafficking get out. But listen, that part in the Bible where Jesus appears to be talking about giving to charity, and he says, when you give, don't let your right hand see what your left hand is doing. Here's a little hint. He's not just talking about when you're giving money. He's talking about when you're giving of yourself. And if you give of yourself in any cause, but you advertise it, it loses the effect you originally had. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of where this guy's motivation was coming from. And so I didn't say that to him. I kept it civil with him, just saying, hey, like, look, the hero, with every good evil story, there's a hero and there's a villain. This usually comes up. Literally every girlfriend Peter Parker ever had is trafficked. Lois Lane gets trafficked all the time.
Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it was a weird argument to make. And I think when you delve into this guy's subconscious, it makes sense then. But yeah. I felt like I had to address that in this part of the pod.
I would not have picked it up
now we can
watching the movie. So
now we can go back to having fun again. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Great. It almost had a very different villain.
Oh.
The Chipmunks meet the villain in the movie after their old castmate, Monterey Jack, owes money to this guy due to Jack's expensive addiction to super stinky cheese.
Poor Monterey Jack.
He fell in with a bad crowd. But originally, there was going to be a different villain, and it was maybe going to be the Coca-Cola Bear.
Oh, yeah.
He was going to be the original bad guy, but they replaced him, or Sweet Pete, as it stands out. I don't know who Sweet Pete is. Is that the name of the bear?
No, that is not the name of the bear.
Oh, okay. Sweet Pete is Peter Pan, though.
Yeah.
And that's also voiced by Will Arnett. So Peter Pan, spoilers, is the villain. And he's like old Peter Pan. So that's interesting, too. But the version that they played around with that they didn't have the rights to. So you talked about copyright.
Mm-hmm.
So they toyed around with all these guys being the main villain, the Coca-Cola bear, that end up being the villain. So Seth Rogen's like Beowulf guy.
Yeah.
Looking guy. He was toyed around with being the main villain. This is going to blow you away. I wish they could have made this happen with copyrights. He originally wanted a grown-up Charlie Brown.
Oh,
to be the main villain.
that would have been epic.
Oh man, that would have been so epic.
But yeah, you're not getting copyrights to Chuck.
No, the estate of Charles M. Schultz did not give them permission to do that. That would have been amazing.
By the way, the polar bear's name's Jimmy the polar bear.
Oh yeah, Jimmy, the Coca-Cola polar bear. That's just as I know him.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about in the movie itself before we get to the immense amount of Easter eggs in this movie?
Just hit it.
Okay. The castle during the Disney opening is made up of Frozen Elsa's castle, the Little Mermaid castle, and Prince Eric's castle. So there's a change in like the Disney opening.
Yeah.
The quote is uttered, "You're not Donald Duck. Put some pants on, please." They make heavy reference to the Chippendale dancers at the beginning in the intro. Which they do it in a way that's kid friendly, so only adults kind of know what they're talking about. That's funny. Is it Chip or Dale? I always get them confused. One of them has a Knight Rider lunchbox in the flashback scene when they're at school, which I thought was hilarious. The Knight Rider lunchbox. There's a classmate that they have who's clearly like from the Goofy movie. Mm-hmm. He's kind of in that style. The entire sequence where one of them is wearing MC Hammer pants and doing the dance.
That would be Dale.
Oh, you can't touch this. And he's doing the dance like the slide that Hammer did in that video. Unbelievable. There's an actual clip of Full House.
Yeah.
Used. I'm telling you guys, this is a 90s dream. 90s dream. Do you want to say anything about any of these? I'm kind of ripping through these.
Like
you just interject
when the MC Hammer dance happened. I was dying, and my wife walked in like right as that was going down, and she's like, "What are you watching?"
Of course, there's many references to the old Chippendale Rescue Rangers cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
And so many funny things that they play with that in the movie. The theme song, of course, is one of them. The clips. I love it when he goes through his VHS collection.
Like, I relate to this.
In what appears to be his garage. Oh man, and that was, I talked about that in the lobby about like having these old cartoons. If you had a collection of them on VHS, that was a major score. Of course, I mentioned when Paula Abdul and MC Scat Cat show up. At that point, I was dead. I don't remember much else happening in the rest of the movie. No, I do. I'm kidding, obviously.
So, like, there's so much that happens in the movie that I forget about Paula.
She's literally there with MC Scat Cat. For those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, Paula Abdul was a huge pop star for a few years. Just one of the biggest. Like, she was up there with Madonna, Janet Jackson, and, she was forever your girl, Straight Up. Straight Up, now tell me, do you really want to? Yeah. She was huge. Well,
Opposites Attract.
She came out with a song called Opposites Attract. It was a famous MTV music video because it featured a man on the track named MC Scat Cat. That was his real name, and he has a little rap in it. But in the video, he was a cartoon cat. And that cat appears in this movie, which is just bonkers. They go to a convention, and by this time...
Oh, the convention's great.
There's so much cosplaying and stuff going on, but appearing in some form in this convention, just a small list that I can rattle through. Super Mario, Charlie Brown, My Little Ponies, Sailor Moon, Harley Quinn, Star Trek characters, Poe Dameron, Lilo from Lilo and Stitch, Bro Thor, Sith Lords, Jedi, Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, Leia, Kylo Ren, Sonic the Hedgehog, Dragon Ball Z characters, Ash Ketchum. What's really hilarious about this, as two guys who've been to a comic convention recently, a big one, it's so right on.
It is.
Like, Harley Quinn is everywhere at comic conventions.
For some reason, yes.
And Bro Thor, surprisingly, any dude with a pot belly was cosplaying as Bro Thor.
As they should.
Yeah, so the convention they go to is amazing. Baloo,
Yeah.
from the Jungle Book, speaks. He has lines.
Or Tailspin. Depends on what.
Yeah, well, yeah. But this is like the movie version.
Yes.
They have like a real bear
Yeah.
who shows up from the recent remake.
Yeah.
Thing.
The
I don't know what you call those.
Kind of live action, but not.
Live action. That'd be a good way to see it. Sort of live action.
But my favorite thing at the convention is Ugly Sonic.
Now, this is genius. Okay. So, Ugly Sonic has a booth at the convention. So does Lumiere, by the way.
Yes.
From Beauty and the Beast, the candlestick guy. But Ugly Sonic has a booth, and he even brings up how like the internet totally lost its mind when they saw his human teeth. And that's a running joke in the movie, as characters in the movie will like they'll tone out what he's saying, and just you get a close up of his human teeth, and they like space out on it. It's perfection, and he's a surprisingly kind of a big part of the movie. So Ugly Sonic. Which, the first time I saw him, I felt like I was falling out of my chair. I was laughing so much on some of this. And my kids were like, what is wrong with you? It's because it's Ugly Sonic from anyways. Lumiere has his own booth. This one's a deep cut. Tigra from the West Coast Avengers. Tigra is a weird comic book character who's best known for being a member of the West Coast Avengers. She's like a furry's dream. She's literally a woman who has fur and a tail. And in the comic books, mostly wore a swimsuit as her superhero suit. It was a little cringy. Looking back, it's a lot cringy. But the fact that she's a character, she also appeared on some of the 90s animated Avengers cartoons. Mm-hmm. She has a booth, has lines, and appears in the movie. The whole Comic-Con scene there is just full of so much. And the people that have booths are perfect.
Paul Rudd's booth.
Aunt Man?
Yes. Oh, I was here for that dialogue alone.
Just the fact that he shows up as himself.
Yeah.
Like you have all these people in this movie and he shows up as himself, as Paul Rudd, promoting Aunt Man.
Where his superpowers are that he can sway anybody's aunt.
Yeah. It's
woo them, if you will.
Alvin and the Chipmunks have a place as well in this movie where they're kind of dissed.
As they should be.
Really? We're going to go with that? Are we going to go here?
Yeah.
Are we about to fight?
Because if we're talking rodent cartoon creatures, I will choose Chip and Dale over Alvin and Theodore and Simon.
I am not here for this Alvin and the Chipmunks slander. You have touched a nerve, friend, and I challenge you to a duel. Alvin and the Chipmunks are far more iconic than Chip and Dale could ever hope to be. They had a Christmas album, and that Christmas song, that one song, still played on the radio today.
Chip and Dale are in Mickey's Christmas.
No, that's not even as close. You don't understand how big Alvin and the Chipmunks were in the 80s.
Oh, they were huge still in the early 90s. No.
People had records. They had a record of that Christmas album. It was in people's record collections. People bought it. People aren't buying anything Chip and Dale. Well, not, the characters. You know what I'm saying?
They didn't release songs. Two different artists.
There's an ongoing beef. We'll just say that between Chip and Dale and Alvin and the Chipmunks. The polar bear is a reference to Coca-Cola for sure.
Yeah.
Flounder from Little Mermaid shows up. He's in there as well. I recognized him immediately. I was like, oh, it's the big fish guy.
Yeah.
Putty, who voiced by J.K. Simmons, it almost steals the movie.
And so
he's Gumby-esque.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, one of the other main characters is like, you Gumby ripoff.
Well, I wondered if maybe that was one of the things they didn't get the rights for. Because I wonder if he was supposed to be Gumby.
Oh, that would have been great.
Because they're making all sorts of Gumby jokes with him the whole time.
Yes.
I just hit the microphone. Where things keep getting stuck on the back of his head.
Oh, Gumby would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been. But Putty is still wonderful.
Yes.
Donut and Eclair police officers from Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah. Forgot about.
Max, the dog from Little Mermaid, shows up. The bread salesman from Beauty and the Beast. Deep cut.
That's a deep cut. Yeah.
Deep cut. Bob is a reference to the animation style of video games in the 2000s where they look normal. Remember, there's a whole scene with Seth Rogen where he can't look at them. He's not making direct eye contact. Well, do you remember playing video games like that?
Oh yeah,
I do. The irony of seeing that character voiced by Seth Rogen and them talking about that and being like, when we reacted to those games as such as, this is amazing. Look at the graphics, unprecedented realism. And now in this context, you watch it and you think, oh yeah, it wasn't as good as we remember.
We've come a long ways.
We have. Shrek makes an appearance in the background.
Again, there was so much happening. I missed it.
Scrooge McDuck, which...
Oh, love Scrooge McDuck.
I literally yelped in joy when he appears. It's just like a quick little montage thing.
Yeah.
But you see him diving into his gold.
And voiced by Doctor Who legend David Tennant.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow. I was really hoping to see more DuckTales representation.
DuckTales would have been great.
But we didn't get it. No Launchpad McQuack.
Oh, and going back to the lobby segment, one of their songs in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is called Launchpad McQuack.
Rapunzel doll with growing hair.
Yep, I saw that one. Caught it.
Peppa Pig gets mentioned as someone who's gone missing.
Yes.
someone who's been trafficked. Nickelodeon Jr. Nick Jr. Studios.
That they break down the doors to Nick Jr.
My kids go crazy at the mention of Paw Patrol in the movie. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how it's brought up. Maybe.
Well, it's when they break down the doors to Nick Studios trying to locate Peppa Pig, and then Paw Patrol starts attacking them.
Oh, yeah. So it's brought up in as in a memory where the Paw Patrol attacked the humans. So
yes.
The cops are talking about it. And it was like a bad deal, apparently.
It was the blemish on Ellie's record that she couldn't live down.
Pogs, which were a big deal in the 90s. Pogs, the little cardboard coins, I guess, for lack of a better word. But
that's
Dale,
tokens. Yeah.
Dale it has a big part in the story, an emotional part in the story for Dale. Oprah is mentioned. Lots of New York references when Dale's undercover. Yankees, hot dogs, bagels, Pizza Broadway. Jungle Book animals in the pool at the spa.
Mm-hmm.
Which looks like an amazing thing. The bootlegging facility where... Okay, so the conceit of this movie is they're tricking all these tunes to come work for them, I guess, or to make these really bad straight-to-video movies.
Yeah.
And these knockoff movies, and then they're bootlegging them, which essentially they're kidnapping cartoons and then breaking them down for parts and then changing what's left, right?
Yeah.
So, Garfield is referenced as maybe one of the tunes that has been bootlegged. Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
There's all these parts you see and they're like little clues. Flounder, which is the fish from Little Mermaid. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Pink Panther. There's a reference to the Pink Panther in there. Snoopy's ear.
Yeah.
Which is weirdly attached to Chip.
Poor Chip.
Yeah, he gets Snoopy's ear. Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. Oh, man. I mean, there's really so much in here. The second convention is the one that had Paul Rudd, the Aunt Man.
Yes.
My Little Ponies, Pickle Rick.
From Rick and Morty.
The Lost Boys from Peter Pan. Because remember they asked the now old Peter, is that you? Is that really you? What happened? He-Man and Skeletor have a hilarious sequence.
Oh, I'm here for any time you get Skeletor.
Yeah, I am too.
There's
a Twitter, there's a Cobra Commander and a Skeletor social media presence that if you follow either one of them, they're pretty hilarious.
For He-Man, I wanted them to do the video of him singing What's Going On.
I have no idea what that is.
Like the Four Non-Blonde song.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted He-Man to just start busting out in that. It didn't happen.
Pee-wee Herman. There's a reference to Pee-wee. Indiana Jones.
Indy.
Obviously, there's a lot of references to him.
Of course, Chip and Dale do reference Indy quite a bit in the series. So.
Well, their original design in the TV show, one of them is very clearly reminiscent of Indiana Jones. The other one's very clearly reminiscent of Magnum PI. So, which is amazing in and of itself. Voltron makes an appearance. Belle from Beauty and the Beast. George Jetson. Doc McStuffins.
I missed the Doc McStuffins reference, but
she shows up in the background. My kids did not miss her. Doc McStuffins! My kids were really into that. There's so much. The birds circling the head when you're hit, that kind of classic cartoon reference. Jimmy gets turned into the blue fairy from Cinderella. The new Peter Pan after he falls into the bootlegging machine. He's partially made up of Yzma, which is a character from that. I don't remember. Something newer. Transformer leg. He has a Transformer leg. He has a Woody leg, like from Toy Story. He has his own body, Peter Pan's body, but Wreck-It Ralph's arm and bootleg Bullet Bill's other arm.
Bullet Bill.
So he's an amalgam of all these old characters. The bootleg Winnie the Pooh movie, Pooge the Fat Honey Bear. And now, it's in the public domain. I need to see that movie. I think I'd rather see Pooge the Fat Honey Bear than Pooh Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
Which we referenced last week on last week's pod. There was a bootleg Simpsons, a bootleg Aladdin, where older Pete is Aladdin. There's an amazing Jurassic Park reference.
Yeah.
When he's roaring and the sign drops. Dumbo, the Care Bears, Woody Woodpecker, Phineas from Phineas and Ferb. I mean, literally, when I tell you, there is tons and tons of references. There just is so many Easter eggs that I think you'd really have to frame by frame it a lot of times, because especially in those comic conventions, in the background, there's so much. It's just a great movie.
Even during the scenes where Chip goes to the office, like his work environment has.
Oh yeah, he's like an insurance salesman.
Yeah, has some references because there's the bull that's in like all those like older cartoons.
Yeah.
The frog is kind of funny, and I didn't know if that was supposed to be from a cartoon series or if that was like an Anheuser-Busch frog. I missed those frogs.
I'd say if you're between the ages of 30 and 45, this movie's gonna really hit you in some feels in your wheelhouse, where you're just gonna really enjoy this movie, kind of aside from what's going on in the actual movie. So what's going on in the actual movie was my kids enjoyed it, and there was enough funny parts that they got it. But for me, I had this like whole other layer of enjoyment from it that I just wasn't expecting.
Oh yeah.
It just took me totally by surprise. And I think there's a special place in your heart. I explained a few weeks ago of why basketball has a special place in my heart, because we went and saw it on a whim at the Dollar Theater, pretty much was expecting that it was going to be trash. And sometimes when you go in with no expectations and you laugh a little bit, it leaves a good memory in your head. And I think that's what this movie did on a macro level for me. Was I would have never watched this movie, never, had I not heard a little about it.
Yeah.
Jason Giesman actually is the one who says you have to watch this movie. He messaged us that night.
Yeah.
And I watched it with my kids, and he said, you guys have to watch this movie. It's amazing. It's the real multiverse of madness.
So literally right after he messaged and then you watched it and you both were like really pumped up about it, I'm like, don't get my hopes up too high.
He's playing Hawkeye. He's Ronin.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't say that. Don't get my hopes up.
Yeah.
You should check it out if you haven't already. It's good stuff. Is there anything else you want to say about it? We didn't want to do like a full review breakdown of it, but we thought we'd go through the Easter egg stuff.
Oh, there's just so many funny scenes that, all the feels of the 90s.
I can't imagine if you were like a loyal watcher of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, the cartoon series. I mean, this would just be the ultimate.
So they throw out information from like a couple episodes in this. Mm-hmm. One of the episodes I do remember.
Yeah, the young cop that helps them.
Yeah.
Is a former fan.
And so I'm like, oh, I remember this episode. Where like if you were a huge fan, I think you would remember every Chip and Dale reference that's happening in it. And so, there's just so much great stuff. Just great stuff.
It's a really, really smart movie. It's smart. And I wish Hollywood do more movies like this. It's meta in a lot of ways. It's just really, really good. And I think one thing they've done in the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, I would say, is they've really figured out how they can bring back old properties in an engaging and entertaining way. So think of things like Cobra Kai. They bring back Karate Kid, but it's kind of meta, right? They bring it back sort of funny, and they bring it back with this sort of internet sensibility where, there's these viral videos and characters on TV shows like Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother reference the fact that Johnny Lawrence is actually the good guy of Karate Kid. And so they bring back these old properties with this 21st century mentality and sensibility that's really smart.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Before we leave, and your mind will literally be blown.
Oh, boy.
Baloo is voiced by Christian music artist Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Nuh-uh. In Chip and Dale?
Stephen Curtis Chapman
Nuh-uh.
makes his debut.
What?
Voice acting Baloo.
That is bonkers. Wait a minute. I need to find this. I need to see this with my own eyes. What? Stephen Curtis Chapman. That's bonkers.
Did he just move up my Christian music artist list? I don't know.
How did that happen? Is he like buddies with Seth Rogen? How did that work?
I don't know.
That did blow my mind. You were right. That blew my mind. That blew my mind. That is still blowing my mind. It is still in the process. My mind is in the process of being blown.
Oh, and he had made a Twitter post of him right next to a freeze frame of him voicing Baloo.
That's amazing.
Evidently, I should have been following Stephen Curtis
We
Chapman.
need to get him on the radio show. If you don't know, Cody and I, we've been putting parts of it out on the pod as little in-between episodes, but we have a radio show on a Christian FM station. And that would be an amazing, because Stephen Curtis Chapman is a Christian recording artist.
Yes.
Of some popularity in the last 20 years. And he just randomly shows up as a character in Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. That's bonkers. I would have, if I wasn't looking at it with my own eyes, I'd say, why are you lying? Why are you trying to make me believe this? That can't possibly be true.
On top of a movie that's already mind-blowing as it is, you throw in this nugget, and I'm like, give it all the awards now.
I'm going to be thinking about how Stephen Curtis Chapman is in Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers for a long, long time. A long, long time. We better end the show now, because I'm now good for nothing, because my brain is just working in overdrive. Hey, everybody, tell us what we missed. If there was something about Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, the new movie on Disney Plus, if you enjoyed about it, or something, some Easter egg we missed that gave you a good laugh, let us know in the comments below the when we post this pod to social media. We love to discuss things with you there. And if you can, make sure and subscribe to the pod if you haven't already. Rate and review us. That is a huge help to podcasts for their visibility. Some people, if we come up on a search, might click on us, and if they see, the first thing they're going to look at is the ratings and the reviews. At least that's what I do. I assume lots of people do that.
I think you're operating under a good assumption.
Yeah. So that helps us out. Rate and review us, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next pod. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. See you then.
We'll see you then.